Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's October. Anyway, I got something. I guess a lot of people have these little weed eater devices and blowers, and this is an Echo. So you'll find nowadays, because of the bad gas with alcohol, that these things, if you let them sit for a while, they just won't run, and they nothing but trouble. So if you have one of these, the carburetors are cheap enough to get aftermarkets. I mean, they're very inexpensive. But if you have the time and sit down, you could fix these. If you take your time with a can of carburetor spray or something, you could sit here and just clean it out. I'll go through the basics. Like, a lot of times this bubble will crack. You can get these in Tractor Supply or different lawnmower shops. A little bubble primer, and you replace it. You pop it out and put it in. You don't even got to take the carburetor apart. You just got to take 4 screws out and pop it in. So these are the main things that happen. The main thing on the older ones, not so much the new ones because of new materials. This is a, I don't know if you see the tiny flaps, look like little noses, horseshoes. Those tiny flaps are like a heart valve, okay? They go against the machine surface. I'll try to set this up to show you so it doesn't fall over. On here, oh, hold on. It goes on like here, very carefully. Okay, you see the little flapper right there? That closes unless the fuel go in, but doesn't let it go out. So when you push the ball, you see that bubble? That bubble is sucking the fuel in one hose, the long hose with the filter from the tank, priming the carb while the air out and pushing it through. So these two little flaps in the old days used to curl when they were dry, and they wouldn't seal anymore, but these new ones don't seem to do so much. You could buy this for like $2 and clean it. One more quick thing. You know, when you do this, you got to be very clean. Just take your time, wash it out, carburetor cleaner, or I could use lacquer thinner quickly. Don't let it soak in it, though. There's a float needle. Now, how this thing works is you have a pulse from the piston going up and down. It pulses this diaphragm up and down. That disc goes up and down with a rubber diaphragm and pushes on. Let me try to get something here. Okay, hold on. It pushes on. I'm trying to do this here. Hold on. It goes from mega machines to mini machines, right? Watchmakers really amaze me. Anyway, so on here, that diaphragm just barely touches that, lifts this little tiny needle here. That lets the fuel in and squirts it like a fuel injector. This is actually like a little mini fuel injector, believe it or not. Underneath there's a little spring. I don't know if you could see it. So you got to take it out and be very careful and clean out all the passages spotless and blow them out. When you blow it out, careful, because if you left something in, it could fly across the room and you won't find it, which happens to me all the time. So try to do it with a squirt can, even WD-40. It always gets your eyeball. No matter what happens, it will go in your eyeball. I've done it thousands of times. It's not nice. That's a screen, filter screen. You got to clean that and blow it out. This side is the flap side for the heart valve, I call it. And the other side is the actual pump and needle injection side. So it's quite simple. Now, on here, I don't know if you see the small hole. You got the big hole in the middle is the air intake. The other ones are the bolts. But that hole there, very often people will glue this or put the wrong gasket and cover that hole. That is the pulse from the piston crankcase below the piston, which activates that diaphragm. Now, if you don't have that, it won't pump fuel, it won't run. Simple. It might start for a second and die. Now, here's one that gets everybody, even got me for years. If you're pushing that bubble like crazy and you don't see the fluid coming in and the air going out and it gets solid fuel and you see it actually, circulating through the clear bubble. I don't know if you could see, but there's two really tiny, this is what gets people and got me so many times. To believe it or not, there's two teensy weensy check valves, one in and out. Tiny, and they get clogged or stuck and you can't get them out. It's very hard to get them out. One time I did, but it's like a watchmaker. So they have to be good. If they're not good, you cannot prime that bubble, and it will not run. It might run on ether and purge itself, but you can't use your primer bubble. So try to buy this. You can get it off Jack Small Engine And there's actually a Zama site, Z-A-M-A, for most of these. You got to be a dealer to get it, but sometimes you can get them. They're only like $3 or $4, and the whole rebuild kit's like $10. But you can get these. Well, I won't say Amazon, which I won't use anymore. Amazon is, I boycotted them. Anyway, you can get these so cheap now that people just replace them, and very often that might be the case. Maybe better off. But I have saved, this one runs good, it just runs a little lean. There's no more high and low speed mixture screws on these new machines. There used to be a high and low adjustment right, where is it? This one don't even have it anymore. There's no place. Anyway, there's no adjustments like in the old days where you could fine tune them and get them perfect. So they have to be clean. One speck of this, even smaller than a piece of sand, clogs a tiny hole, and it will not run, folks, or it won't idle, or it'll idle, but it won't have high speed. There's just a throttle assembly. You don't have to mess with that. But anyway, I thought that might help some people. And it's not that hard to do if you sit down on a bench and one night, nothing to do, very carefully clean it. You see, it's self-explanatory. It only goes together one way with index pins. And don't forget, there's a filter on the end. Now, this one had a pinched hose, kinked, and the filter was clogged. You won't believe it. So it sat for like 3 years in the shed. Cleaned it out for a kid next door, a young guy. He's trying to make money. So I just doing it for free to help the kid. And showing him what to do. He was here before. And you got